Starting off, actually, before the injury news, I'm going to start off talking about the new squad numbers because they've been announced today. No player has changed their number. So Kinski is stuck with 31 as he was with Slavia Prague. Everyone else, the exact same numbers. But I was interested to see that Luca Williams-Barnett and Jamie Donnelly were not in the list. I'm not sure if they're just going to still be considered as youth team players. Is it a precursor to them not really being used in this current season? What do you make out of that? I mean, they do obviously have squad numbers because they used them during pre-season, and we saw his squad number last season when he featured for the first team against Doncaster. But do you think with them not being on the list that the club announced today, does that mean anything?
I mean, it can't be a good sign, you would think, because this is obviously the list for the first team players that are in, well, you would think are in contention for next season. I guess it does. Obviously, it doesn't mean ruling them out or anything because they can still play, it can still be registered. So from that point of view, like, there's nothing concrete or official. But
they don't need to be registered because they're under 21.
And exactly. So, yeah, but like Moore also doesn't need to, and he's been given a squad number. Obviously, there's talks of him going on loan. Apparently, he's going to start tomorrow. We'll talk about that later. But you would have thought if Williams-Barnett was seriously in his thoughts, you know, if he's going to be in the squad, let's say tomorrow, he would have a squad number on that list. So maybe he's more behind than we think, which is a shame because if that is the case, because he was so good in pre-season, you would have thought he'd be a player in contention, maybe getting minutes, maybe being used with all these injured players at the moment that we have in the forward line. He would be an option, but maybe it's optimistic looking at that.
Yeah, we'll see. I think you have seen it before in the past where players aren't on the initial list and then they do take somewhat part in a season. Like last season, we used a few academy products, didn't we? The season before, like Demolo, Jai, and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't say it rules them out completely, but I was expecting to see them on this list. I'm not going to lie. Particularly Jamie Donnelly as well, because, you know, he's actually eligible to go on loan. Luca Williams-Barnett's not eligible to go on loan, so he's got to stick around, whatever. But Jamie Donnelly, what's going to happen with him? Like, surely you would think he would actually be on this list, above Luca Williams-Barnett.
Unless we just not, and the only reason I think is we're not considering him as an option, and maybe he's going to leave, which I wouldn't be shocked with. But you know, he has played quite a bit of pre-season. There were reports that De Zerbi likes him, so maybe when he's seen him play, he's been a bit less enamoured. We'll see. I mean, I guess we'll look at it later when we do the predicted lineup, but maybe there just isn't. They don't think there's going to be space for Williams-Barnett and Donnelly right now.
Oh, well, that's the squad numbers. No real changes on that front. In terms of the injury news going into the start of the season, De Zerbi said Mickey is not on the list tomorrow, like Pedro Porro. James Maddison is in the squad. Solanke's in the squad. Udogie and Fernandez also in the squad. However, Sarr is not because he felt some pain. Are you buying that?
Also injured, just on the cusp of reports that he could be on the move to Galatasaray. So I don't think that's a coincidence. I watched the training footage the other from I think yesterday or 2 days ago, and Sarr was there training. So unless he's picked up in the last day, I think maybe that's a sign that this move might be getting close.
Yeah, but in terms of Mickey, he said that today he worked with us, with the group, and he's going very well. He suffered a problem during pre-season in Australia. I don't know if it was the flight, but not a big problem. We have Senesi, we have Ben Davis in the right condition to play the game tomorrow. And this is the beauty, isn't it, of signing Marcos Senesi, where in previous years, Mick van Ven goes down or he's not available for selection and you're fearing the worst and you're thinking, oh God, what is going to happen now? But now we got Marcus Senesi. It's not really too much of an issue.
Yeah, you'll be looking at Gray or Dragoshin to play centre-back in previous years, and now
Ben Davis, yeah.
Or Ben Davis, and now we've signed one of the best ball-playing centre-backs in the Premier League from last season. Obviously, there are question marks about the Van Hecke-Senesi partnership. We'll see how that gets along. The good signs against Hoffenheim. But as you say, this is why we've built a squad. So I don't think anyone's fretting too much. Obviously, if it's a long-term injury, then you start to worry a bit. But sounds like he could be back for maybe Charlton or the next game.
Yeah, let's hope so. But some big news on Mickey van de Ven. Mickey has just been named the club captain, which is absolutely fantastic for Mickey van de Ven. We were all talking a lot, you know, ITK saying it's going to be James Maddison. James Maddison is actually 4th choice on the list, which was much to my surprise. But a massive congratulations to Mickey van de Ven. So what Roberto De Zerbi said in the press conference was the new captain is Mickey van de Ven, 2nd is Pedro Porro, 3rd is Ben Davis, 4th is James Maddison, and 5th is Archie Gray. Why 5? Because I want as many captains as possible, and they all deserve to be captains. So let's talk about Mickey van de Ven first, and we'll get into the other ones. I mean, look, he showed great leadership ability in the back end of the season. We all kind of were talking about it a lot over the summer, saying we all think it's going to be James Maddison, and he showed probably the best leadership qualities out of everyone so far. But in terms of Mickey, it is a great choice.
He's first choice centre back. Obviously, he's had the armband now for kind of de facto, well, for large parts of last season. There was points early on when he was given the captain's armband and everyone was saying what leadership ability he's showing, and we had some good wins early in the season with him as captain. And then, as you say, back end of last season when backs against the wall, we really had to fight. And I thought, obviously, he really stood up and his mind was changed 180. Obviously, you do kind of, in a weird way, have flashbacks to a year ago where you had a centre-back who was reportedly looking to leave, had his mind changed, and was given the captaincy on the cusp of the season. Flashbacks to Romero, also signing a contract as well. Flashbacks a year ago, Romero looking to leave. A lot of people thought maybe he was on his way out. Beginning of the season, signs a contract and given the captaincy. So let's hope it doesn't go the same way as that.
Yeah, the thing I would say about that, like, would things have been different if De Zerbi came in at the start of last season instead of the start of this season on Romero?
Let's hope. I would like to think so. I would like to think so. I think there's a lot happened last season which gave Romero the hump, and obviously broken promises, and he was probably given assurances when he signed that deal and was given the captaincy. Look, we're going somewhere, we're going to be serious, we're going to start signing players, all this kind of stuff. And then what happened last season, we had Frank, obviously no one liked, we had all the injuries, and I think the big breaking point for him was probably January, where we were in the shit, hurling towards relegation. We stuck with Frank. Not only did we stick with Frank, but we had an absolute shocking window where we didn't get what we needed and improve the team. And he probably felt like the club hung us out to dry, which is I don't disagree with. Yeah. But I think at that point, I think that was like a breaking point with him. I didn't think we saw the same Romero after that. And I think obviously he got disillusioned properly, and it happened. And what happened was, he started behaving badly, and his performances dropped. Then obviously he got injured when De Zerbi came in, so he didn't even have those moments. But anyway, it's not rehashing of Romero, but it's just an interesting, comparison when it's now happening with Van de Ven. He had his mind changed. He obviously has gotten assurances. He's not been given the captaincy. But I like the choice. I think he's become more vocal. We've seen that. I think the boy we saw when he first joined, that quiet, unassuming character who would just basically mop up behind Van de Ven, behind Romero, sorry, he's become more authoritative on the pitch. You can see that he's shouting more, he's taking more responsibility. As we've said before, he's actually now one of the more long-serving players in the squad, funnily enough, although he's only been here, this is now coming up to his 4th year. And I think he's got those capabilities. Obviously, once he's now officially captain and he's got that responsibility, how he reacts when the chips are down and things are not going well, how he drags other players up, how he leads the back line. I was listening to Jay Harris on The View from Milan. He was talking about how Van Hecker, the guy next to him, is also a very, very vocal member of the back line. He never stops shouting. He never stops trying to control the back line. So how they control that together as international teammates as well, it's going to be very interesting. So obviously we have to see what happens now he's been given the captaincy, but I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, I do agree. I think, look, if you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago who I would pick, I probably would have said James Maddison, but I wouldn't have been disappointed at all if you told me Van de Ven was going to get the captaincy. I mean, it's one hell of a turnaround, isn't it? You look at last season, him walking past Thomas Frank and ignoring him, to poor body language, and just a player that just didn't look like he was happy at the club, didn't look like he wanted to be here. And then it all changed when Roberto De Zerbi came in, and you saw him getting back to his best. Unbelievable leadership ability shown in those last 7 games, and now he's club captain. So massive congratulations to Mickey van de Ven. At the time, when we were talking about Mickey at the back end of last season, I did kind of liken it to Jan Vertonghen, kind of his turnaround at Spurs. And I think Vertonghen never got the armband and was never club captain, but he was definitely a big leader within the dressing room. So I think the similarities continue.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully that shows his commitment. It's going to make it harder for him to leave now, you would think, if ever things went wrong for Tottenham. You know, he's our club captain. It's not, he can't like go out through the back door. Maybe he could have this summer if De Zerbi didn't come in and things went in a different way. He probably could have found it easy to leave. But now he's going to be locked in. That shows his commitment to Tottenham. And I think it also shows how much trust we have in him now, despite the fact what happened last season and bad performances and bad body language or whatever. We now trust that he's in it for the long haul. And I think the contract and the captaincy proved that.
Yeah, and second choice, obviously, Pedro Porro, vice-captain at the club now. What a year, personally, it's been for Pedro Porro, from winning the Europa League a year later, or just over a year later, winning the World Cup, best right-back at the World Cup, and now the vice-captain of Tottenham Hotspur on the back of signing a bumper contract. So, yeah, I mean, he deserves everything he's getting.
Yeah, another player who, one of the few in the squad who are actually longer serving than Mickey. We've always noticed his passion on the pitch. We always notice he bleeds for the badge. He has a great relationship with the fans. He celebrates tackles like he scored a goal, all that kind of stuff. But I think what really showed me kind of his impact on the squad and the respect he has was that moment you saw when he came back from the World Cup and everyone's greeting him. Obviously, it's a lovely moment for him, but, you know, when he stood up, he gave a little speech. And I remember I was kind of saying it tongue-in-cheek when I was watching. I was like, just give him the captaincy. Look at him. He looks like a leader. But seems as though De Zerbi has taken notice, and he's clearly a very popular member of the squad. Yeah. He's always commenting on people's social media posts, all these different things. Clearly, he gets on with everyone. Everyone respects him. They love him. And I think most importantly, which is something we've obviously spoken about, but it sounds like De Zerbi's taken it into account, in terms of availability. Obviously, Van der Ven is hopefully going to be our first choice centre-back, going to be playing every game. We know Porro just doesn't miss a game, and so he's going to be one of the voices on the pitch. And maybe when it came to selecting who our first choice captains are going to be, maybe that's kind of was a big difference when it came to Maddison.
Ben Davies as the third. Obviously, the only player, I think, in our squad that's actually played at White Hart Lane.
Yeah.
From the Pochettino era as well. I think it makes sense to have Ben Davies in the leadership group. But do you think it makes sense to have him ahead of James Maddison in terms of vice captaincy role? That surprised me.
Yeah, it surprised me too. I thought Maddison was kind of, the new era of leader, the one who has that respect through everyone liking him in the dressing room, and he seemed to make a real influence last season, like the back end of last season as well. When he came back, even though he was only able to play 5-10 minutes, he was able to make a difference on the pitch. And I think everyone was so excited about him returning, and he seemed to be always, you watch the behind the scenes videos of him, he's always encouraging, he's always got something to say, especially with the younger players as well. He seems to have a real connection with them. So obviously Ben Davies is part of the furniture at Tottenham. He's the one in the squad who understands Tottenham probably the most and understands what this club has been through, what this club means, what it means to play for Tottenham. So I like he's part of the leadership group. I don't really have a problem with him being over James Maddison in theory. I just thought with all the rumours and everything and seeing the influence Maddison has, I thought it was going to be Maddison, but I can understand it being Ben Davies as well, and I think he is a good voice.
From what I've been told, apparently Ben Davies had a big integral part of confidence building at the back end of last season. And actually, whilst he was out injured, he was giving a lot of speeches in the dressing room before games, which is really interesting.
That's good to hear. Good to hear.
And Archie Gray, man. Archie Gray, what? Unbelievable. Wow. We all thought like this him getting the captaincy in pre-season was just like to build confidence of a young player coming through. But actually, he's part of the leadership team and he's fifth choice captain, and most likely he's going to lead the team out on the first day of the Premier League tomorrow, which is mad.
Which is, crazy to think about when you've seen players like Bergvall who apparently, could be leaving in a similar position to Archie Gray. I think De Zerbi is obviously sending a message to Gray that you're in the leadership group. I really value you. I know we've just signed 2 big central midfielders. I know it's going to be hard for you to fight for your place, but I really believe in you. I think you're a fantastic player. You're the future of this club. And he's probably telling him, look, you're a future captain here. And I don't want you going anywhere. You're going to stick right with me. And I love it. I love the message setting out. Obviously, we'll get into it, but it sounds like he might be spending a lot of the season at right back this season. But we'll see how he gets on there. But we all know Gray seems to be quite mature for his age. He seems to be play like a player wiser beyond his years. And I think De Zerbi's recognising that he's a player who can play multiple positions. He always thinks of the team first, and I think that's maybe what De Zerbi appreciates with him.
Yeah, so massive congratulations to Archie Gray. Massive shock to see him in there, but obviously brand new captain of the club, Mickey van der Ven, and very much looking forward to seeing him lead the team out in the future. Obviously, it's not going to happen this weekend. It will be Archie Gray, or you never know, Maddison could spring a surprise on us and start the game, but I highly doubt it. But let's get on to some potential transfer news. Let's start off with Mikey Moore. We heard the reports that he could potentially be going out on loan to FC Cologne. Florian Plettenberg says it's a matter of time. The deal is still on. Cologne optimistic about receiving the green light. It could potentially come after the game against Brentford on Saturday, because as things stand, he's expected to be in the squad tomorrow. And Lily White Rose did say on X that he is starting tomorrow. So I guess it's a case of get this game out of the way, and then Mikey Moore's loan move to Cologne will get green light.
Yeah, great. It's interesting to think about what if he has gets man of the match tomorrow. Does that give a decision to make? But I think with the Savinho news, obviously we'll talk about that. But that's getting over the line. Sounds like we've done that too late to be in for tomorrow. So we're going to need Mikey Moore as an option. He had a brilliant game against Hoffenheim, but I think this is the right move. He needs the game time. Interestingly, for Cologne, El Mala has just signed a new contract.
Yeah.
So does that complicate things for him in terms of position? But I did read, I don't know who it was from yesterday.
I think it was SZY.
It was SZY saying that apparently they plan to play him centrally, which is quite interesting. So if he's going to be a number 10 for the season in the Bundesliga.
I thought they don't play that with a number 10 though. I thought they just played with a 3-5-2 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe up front. I don't know. Maybe they'll change.
3-4-3, I thought
maybe they'll
played.
change formation. We'll see. But if he's going to be playing centrally, I wonder how that's going to help his development. I think that could definitely help it. But obviously he's been playing on the wing for us, so I wonder how that's going to look. Or maybe Almala will play centrally and he'll play on the wing. But either way, I think getting regular game time in the Bundesliga is really going to help him.
Yeah. So that's Mikey Moore. His loan move looks like it will happen very, very soon. Let's talk more on the Savinho deal, because late last night, Fabrizio gave us the here we go. Early this morning, David Ornstein signed, sealed and delivered it, saying Tottenham Hotspur reach agreement in principle with Manchester City to sign Savinho. Deal for the 22-year-old Brazilian winger, £75 million plus $10 million in add-ons. 5 million of bonuses are highly achievable. Tottenham to land the main target, and Manchester City get a record sale. Sky Sports says that Savinho is scheduled to have his medical this afternoon, so who knows, he could be having it right now over at Hotspur Way. And Enzo Maresca has been speaking in his press conference, and he mentioned Savinho, and he said since day one, Savinho has wanted to leave, and it's no secret, to be honest, but Enzo maybe couldn't sway him around, I guess.
Yeah, and right now, considering their lack of options, Doku's just been confirmed as injured for a few weeks. I think he would have been starting for City if he was part of their squad this weekend. But Savinho had his mind made up. Sounds like Enzo couldn't change it for whatever reason. Savinho was desperate to come to Tottenham. He's been working for Tottenham for so long. We all know it. He's made no secret of it, commenting on all the posts and academy player posts and everything to try and get this over the line. And it seems like they finally relented. And it looks like we're going to get our man over the line. Doesn't look like he'll be in time for the game tomorrow. You would have thought it'd be
fanciful to think.
Yeah, it was always going to be a stretch, a race against time. It's a shame. It looks like the agreement only came late last night and not a few days ago, and it could have happened. What I would say is, you never know. The deal is always possible. A deal he could have signed already, and everything's already happened, but they haven't just announced it yet. That is possible, but you would think it's unlikely. You probably would have heard something by now, but you never know. But regardless, probably make his debut on Wednesday, and I'm just delighted this saga is over. We've finally got our man. In terms of your reaction, obviously you were asleep last night, but getting the here we go reported fee as well, which apparently is potentially linked to the Marmoush fee. What are you thinking?
It's a crazy fee. There's no way to sugarcoat this. It's just an absolutely nuts fee for what Savinho has done in the Premier League so far. That is the reality. But I'm delighted to have the player. I'm not really am delighted to have him. I think he's going to offer so much for us in this coming season. He's going to bring excitement to the team. For so long, we've been missing that excitement on the wings, and he's definitely going to bring that. So I can't wait to see him in a Spurs shirt. Alongside a Marmoush, hopefully, and alongside a Gakpo, hopefully. These three players are going to cook for us, so I can't wait.
Do you think, does it make a difference for you when you assess the fee that apparently there's this sell-on clause for Omar Marmoush to from Frankfurt, and that's maybe going to bring that price down, which is why it's inflating this price?
I think we need to see what the Omar Marmoush fee is first before we can really comment on that, to be honest. But let's say Omar Marmoush comes in for like 50 million. Then, you know, swapping those two fees around, I think makes a lot of sense. And I don't think I'd have, you know, that those fees are not too crazy then. I think Marmoush, you know, I think he can bag so many goals in this Spurs team playing as the false nine. So I think if you say Marmoush goes for 75 million plus like, let's say 5, because they're saying 5 achievable and 5 really hard add-ons to make. So if that's the deal for Marmoush, and let's say 50 million's a deal for Savinho, I don't think too many people have a problem with that.
Yeah, I agree. But in terms of him, because a lot of people, obviously, we're very much wired in on Tottenham and these deals, so we can like see the context here if that does obviously end up happening and why this fee is so inflated. But maybe to a lot of maybe casual fans, Spurs fans even, or casual football fans, they're just going to see Savinho 85 million. So do you think just him being linked with that fee, does that pile the pressure on him to really hit the ground running?
I think regardless of the fee, he's under pressure to perform at Tottenham Hotspur because of how it went for him at Man City. Obviously, the fee puts a bit of added pressure. Yeah, of course it does, because it's a big fee. But it's up to De Zerbi to get it out for him. Of course he's under pressure because he's going to be playing a lot more, and a lot of eyes are going to be on him because of, you know, everyone's clowning on him in terms of the goal contributions, and particularly the amount of goals he's scored and the reputation that he came to England with. So he already had that pressure going to Man City, and it kind of hasn't worked for him at Man City, and now he's going to Tottenham to try and get that reputation back. So yeah, I think there is big pressure on Savinho to perform at Tottenham.
Yeah, I hope that kind of fee doesn't become a weight that's around his neck, which he struggles to shake, because as you say, in a different kind of scenario, he's coming for 50 million and Marmoush is signing for 85, and all of a sudden maybe that added weight isn't there, and maybe he can play a bit more freely. I just hope it doesn't make a difference, and I hope like people don't pile in on him if he starts, you know, with a few poor performances or whatever. Let's just see. I hope that it doesn't add too much pressure, because the context of the deal means that the fee has been inflated kind of irregularly, when it maybe in a different world it wouldn't have been such a massive fee and he wouldn't be connected to such a big fee.
You see it so many times, don't you? Like with every big player, with every player that goes for a massive fee, right? Like look at Caicedo, look at Enzo Fernandez, look at Mudryk, look at Pepe, look at all these players, right, that go for big money. Every single conversation from all the pundits, from all the fans, the fee is always mentioned when analysing these players. I remember Caicedo, he made that mistake in the first game of the season, right, in his debut for Chelsea, and everyone's like, well, 100 million for this, and he ends up being the best midfielder, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, fine, but every single analysis on Match of the Day, everything, the fee is going to be mentioned whenever analysing Savinho. So he's got to be ready for that.
Yeah, that's just my worry, because like if he signed for 50, it probably wouldn't be. But now that he's connected to this massive fee, which is artificially inflated, like it's unnecessarily connected to him. But it is what it is. That's the announcement. That's what we've decided to do. So hopefully he can live up to it.
Yeah. On Omar Marmoush, Florian Plettenberg said this morning that Marmoush and Tottenham have reached full verbal agreement. Club-to-club negotiations with Man City are advanced and set to be completed soon if nothing extraordinary happens. And Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham are confident to proceed with Omar Marmoush deal by next week, as the player wants the Tottenham move. Negotiations advancing between the clubs, and Alfredo Padula says that Spurs are very close to finalising a deal for Omar Marmoush. And Enzo Maresca did say in his press conference, says, I don't know, Omar is still here, still with us, a different situation to Savinho, and we'll see what happens. So, yeah, I do think this deal is going to get done. I think it's a fantastic deal for Tottenham Hotspur. And I think this guy has probably got the ability to bag more goals than anyone probably since Harry Kane. Obviously, Harry Kane has the ability to bag a lot more goals than Omar Marmoush. I'm not saying that, but when you look at the strikers that have come in since Harry Kane, he's got the ability to bag way more than what we've had.
Yeah, I'm super excited about getting Omar Marmoush into the team. Just having someone in the forward line who can absolutely smack a ball, brilliant ball striking. When he gets in a position, you back him to bury it, rather than our current strikers who just... They just never seem to hit the ball cleanly, do they? And Omar Marmoush is going to be a big difference to that. How he fits in the team, obviously we've got to work that out. Obviously the plan will be for him to be number 9. I wonder if while we get Maddison fit and stuff, do we play Marmoush with a Solanke potentially as a backboard? I think that's something that could work. But then again, does De Zerbi want to play Marmoush as a midfielder? I think he kind of wants a midfield 3 for like the work rate and all that kind of stuff. So all these different things we've got to work out. There are definitely question marks about him just being a pure number 9 in a lone striker role. So that's something that De Zerbi will have to figure out tactically. How can we get maybe other players closer to him so he's not so isolated and he can kind of play off other players instead of being physically dominated by opposition centre-backs. But there is just one thing that isn't in doubt, and that is when he's got the ball at his feet and he's going towards goal and he's got a chance to take a shot off, he is just a phenomenal player, and he's got magic in his boots. He is, I think he's going to do amazing things for Tottenham. He's going to be a very, very exciting player for us, and I can't wait to see him in a Spurs shirt. Hopefully, debut against Charlton in the League Cup, maybe off the bench or maybe starting. That'll be absolutely brilliant. There was a report from a Man City journalist claiming, I think it was Jack Gorn, he claims that Maresca implied that the situation right now, Marmoush, is a bit different to Savinho, and apparently he's set to be in the squad this weekend. So let's see if there's any truth to that. Obviously, all the noise is this is set to be done. It's on the cusp. Hopefully he's not included in the squad, and that's obviously indication that this is inevitable. I think it's inevitable either way, but
I think Man City need him in the squad.
That's the thing. But they needed Savinho as well. That's the thing. Yeah.
I think they need him in the squad this weekend. I wouldn't read too much if he's in. I think if he's still in the squad this weekend, I still would assume he's coming to Spurs, just because of the numbers. And I think it's going to be a very busy week at Man City next week in terms of incomings, and they will get a replacement. But I wouldn't read too much into it, because I think it's just a numbers thing.
Yeah, so this double deal, I mean, we've done a few double deals in our time. Like,
tell me what
Everington and Simon Davis.
What in the Football Manager career mode are we Spurs done? Like, I've never seen a transfer window like this. Like, we always talk about every season being like, we need to rip it down. All these players need to go. We need a new defence, a new midfield, and a new attack. And it's like, we always talk about it. We always know, like, it's not realistic. It's never going to happen. But it's actually happened this window. It's mad.
Yeah, and we are not done yet, even after Marmoush, which is mad. And looking at that squad, it's all of a sudden really coming together. And I think it couldn't be more exciting. Obviously, let's hope what happens on the pitch matches what is currently happening off the pitch. But as a Tottenham fan, looking at all these new players, all these new shiny new toys to play with, all these new players to get excited about, I just can't wait. And I think with Marmoush and Savinho, what I think people are underestimating, who aren't Spurs fans, is I think they're proper Tottenham players who excite, players who get bums off seats, players who like to do magical things. I think if you're being hyper kind of cynical, critical, you would say they're proper Tottenham players because maybe they'll have like 3 off games, but on their day they'll just be sparkling, and then all of a sudden they'll do something amazing, and that's like a proper Tottenham player, just really good on their day, but maybe not good consistently. Hopefully we don't see that, and hopefully we see like real consistent amazing output. But like someone like Savinho, for example, like Tottenham fans love players like Savinho. They really do. Think about Aaron Lennon, like back in the day. Just players who take on defenders, aren't scared, are fearless. That is what Savinho is going to bring. Someone like Marmoush, who like reminds you, I don't know who he reminds you of from a Tottenham point of view, but someone who just get the ball and have a go, have a crack from 25 yards, and actually have a good chance of scoring it with proper quality. I think Tottenham are going to fall in love with both these players. I really think so.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I can't wait to see them in Spurs shirts, man. I think it's going to be such an exciting season.
Someone in the chat, is this our version of the modern day version of Ricky V and Ozzy Ardiles? Or is it going to be Matthew Everington and Simon Davis?
Let's see them do it on the pitch, man. Let's see them do it on the pitch, and we can see what they actually bring to
Any
the
other
Spurs
double deals
team.
we've done previously off the top of your head? I think, yeah, it was those two I can remember.
Everington Davis.
Ricky V and Ozzy Aldias. Anyone in the chat? Any other double deals we've done
Didn't we
before?
bring Carl Walker in a double deal?
Carl Walker and Carl Norton.
Carl Walker and Carl Norton.
Yeah, they were a double deal from Sheffield United, weren't they?
So, yeah, we've done a few in the past. Usually it's only one that works out. Well, Ricky and Ozzy obviously both worked out. But Kulu and Bentancur.
Kulu and Bentancur, that was a really good double deal. That was a great double deal.
Reed and Dawson.
Yeah, Reed and Dawson. Yeah, very good. Chatter on it today. Love it.
And
hopefully this is going to be the best one.
Yeah, I feel it. I just feel really positive about these two deals, albeit, I feel positive about most players that come into Spurs, but it just feels different this time.
Bale and Reguilon from Madrid.
Cody Gakpo. Alfredo Padula says that Tottenham are now expected to submit a new offer for Liverpool's Cody Gakpo, and I'm sure, you'd look to settle the Marmoush thing early next week, I assume, and then we've got the rest of the week to try and get Cody Gakpo over the line.
Yeah, and let's hope Liverpool get Barcola and get they're making a bid for Minter. I think that's a sign of them really pushing for that second winger, because we know Barcola's definitely going to happen no matter what. So let's hope they push for Minter. Maybe it opens the door for Gakpo. Iraola actually has been quoted talking about Gakpo in his press conference. He says, I think he's talking about more his position rather than his availability, but he says, I think Cody can play as a number 9. I've not tried it in pre-season because we don't have enough wingers. He knows what we need from him in his preferred position as a left winger, but I've spoken to him about his minutes as a 9. He's done it before and he can help us there, which is obviously does play into what we were speaking about before, where we know Ekitike's out. If Isaac, he's not had a great injury record at Liverpool, and they don't really have another option but Gakpo right now in a 9 if they go into the season with their current attacking players. So he's now talking about Gakpo as that potential number 9 option. Does that make it less likely they'll sanction the move?
I don't know. I do think we're going to get Gakpo, and I think Liverpool are going to be hella busy from now until the end of the window. Romano said it yesterday, I think, that they're going to be one of the busiest clubs in Europe in the last week of the window. So I think it will become more clear next week. And I think Gakpo will end up coming to Spurs.
Do you think this is going to be probably the busiest last week we've ever seen?
It's going to be crazy, because I think every club is still looking to do business. Man City need to do so much business. Liverpool need to do so much business. I'm sure Arsenal are still looking for players to bring in. Martinelli's situation on the left-hand side. Spurs are still looking to do business in the last week of the window. Newcastle probably got so much business to do in the last week of the window. Villa have probably got so much. You know what I mean? All these clubs still have so much business to do. So it's going to be exciting stuff.
We've gone from, if we can get Marmoush and Savinho over the line with just really Gakpo to go for, we might be more ready than most if we get those two.
Potentially. But let's seal Marmoush early next week and let's get Gakpo in before the Newcastle game, and happy days.
I don't know if it's part of your update, but also we should talk about what De Zerbi said about the right back. Is that we're going to do?
No, I haven't got that. Yeah, you can go.
So he was asked in his press conference, De Zerbi, if he's going to look for a new right back. He said, in this moment, I think no. We have Archie Gray. He prefers playing in midfield, but he can also play very well as a right back. He says, I don't want too many players. I don't want 25, 26 players. I only want 21 to 22 players. I think they are enough. And he also went on to explain different players finding different solutions for different positions, which I thought was a bit interesting. So he says, we've in terms of left back, we've got Van de Ven and Ben Davis who can fill in there. If for Doggy and Robertson, he says are very top level left backs. And then if need be, you've got Van de Ven and Davis. Interesting that you said Van de Ven there, because we've been theorising he could play a role there. Didn't mention Sousa, no. He also said Kudus. He said with Kudus he can play on the right wing or he can play number 10, which I thought was quite interesting, plays into what a lot of people be saying. And he said with Gallagher he can play the 6 or he can play the 8 or the 10, he was saying, so given different solutions. So I thought that was interesting. But in terms of him talking about the right back, he claims that we're not going to be going for a right back in the last week of the window.
Yeah, and look, I'm not expecting us to move for a right back from now to the end of the window, but I do think that's the next kind of signing we'll make after this transfer window. I think whether it be January or the summer, I do think we will be moving for a right back. I just don't think it's going to come this this window, and I don't think he can say, right now, if we're not going to move for it in the last week, there's no point saying, I still want to bring the right back. You may as well say, look, we're not bringing right back. I'm happy with what I got, blah, blah, blah. So I do think we'll end up bringing right back. I do firmly believe De Zerbi does want a right back, but I just don't think we're going to get it this window.
Yeah, I think it's one we assess in Jan, see how Gray performs when he plays there, see what Porro's like in terms of his fitness, and if he's as fit as ever, then, and if there's not really a need to bring in a right back, we'll assess it in Jan. I've got a feeling we'll probably more likely do it next year, but I think maybe it's one, if need be, if there's an injury to Porro or maybe even an injury to Gray. I think that's one in Jan.
Also midfielders.
All midfielders. I think that's maybe one in Jan we'll look at and think, we actually really need one. But I think we probably have enough between now and Jan to move forward with what we got.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below. First of all, how excited are you for the new season, and how excited are you to see these new players ball it out at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? But let us know your thoughts as well in the comment section below on all the news topics that we have brought to you today.